Hey everyone, this is Jerry Visca, your Why Guy, inspiring 1 million whys and the publisher of Why Time Mag. This is our global publication that supports real people and real voices. Welcome to the Launch It issue, and I am so excited because we have Mark Green, who is what we call Why Timer of the Year from Orlando, Florida. He is a messenger of hope. Welcome, Mark.
Hello, Jerry. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm so excited about bringing you back to White Time Mag and bringing you into this specific issue, which is called Launch It, because that's what you're doing. You're launching what matters most. You're not holding back. And all I can say is sit back, listeners, because you're going to be blown away and you'll be ready to launch what's inside of you. I want to start off with a quote that you share, Mark, around your deeper why. I exist to inspire, lead, and mentor so that hope in ourselves is reborn. I love that. Every time I see you, the first time I met you during Y Time, I said this is the messenger of hope that the world needs. Can you share with us what that means to you?
I realize that, hope is something that isn't just like the words I hope, like I hope something happens. Really, to me, it has taken on a deeper meaning because I realize the hope that I'm talking about is sometimes the hope when people are in a depressed state or something in despair of some kind, whether that be from trauma or anything else, and then lifting them up because I've experienced that, and I think most everyone has a moment in their life where they're in despair or they're having a hard time or whatever. And it's like finding that little thing that helps pull them up just that little bit. There's an iconic picture I think I have in the Bahamas where I was sitting on an upside down boat with a woman who had lost her son in the hurricane. And what was interesting about that was there wasn't a lot of conversation with me and her at the time. It was just sitting and contemplating. And I could see it in her eyes. I could almost feel her soul in a way that, like, I realized that no matter what I said at the time, or no matter what I did, as long as I was there alongside of her to know that another day will come and over time with healing and time and everything else, things could eventually at least continue on in life. And I'll never forget that woman. I really do believe that when you say you're a messenger of hope, it's not like an ordained thing. It's like when I go over to India or I go to hurricanes and help with people that have lost everything in their lives, it's a connection.
Yes, yes,
And I've learned to connect with people, not just saying hi and being a surface connection. There's a difference between meeting someone and just having a momentary, oh, how you doing? What do you do? This and that, versus a true meaningful connection. Something I learned from Jack Canfield in the events where you had to look into somebody's eyes and it's like, give them a hug. And, I was the guy that couldn't give the hug at first. And then I got over that and I realized true connection is between people. It's between their hearts, and it's the universe brings it if and you feel it and they can feel it.
make them feel.
So that hope is something that is real, and it's something that I've learned to carry with me when I go to places where I see really tough things, right? For anything from a gypsy camp in India where they're living in a shanty and they barely have enough food and clean water to drink, to the hurricane events that I've been supporting. I just got back this past week from the one here in Florida. And you see the same things every time. You see people that got by and it was okay, but then you see other people that they don't even know where to turn next. And just bringing that little moment of, hey, you know what? I feel you and I see you. That carries a long way, and it keeps people going.
I
So
love that. Hope is human connection. That's a wonderful, wonderful tie into the next area, which I'm really inspired to share with listeners, is you've created and are creating this beautiful, inspiring documentary. To me, it is a documentary of human connection and hope. It's called Veterans Across the Heartland. Why does the world need this documentary now, Mark, more than ever?
You know, as I look around the world and I see disagreement between countries, between people. I see division. I see a lot of things that, to me, are really not what the world, I think, is intended to be. Um, I realize that in order for people to really see the true nature of the people behind somebody who has raised their hand or said, I'm willing to stand for my country, or I'm willing to uphold the Constitution, or whatever it is that they believe in, it takes a lot of different people. And what I realized is when I went out and shot this documentary 14 days around the country, I realized that all veterans are not the same. Now, somebody up on high made a decision that somebody needed to go to war and whatever, and things happen and people lose lives, and that is a devastating thing. But sometimes you should not go over where you belong. And so there's that give and take in the world. But I realized that when I interviewed these veterans, there were some veterans that didn't want to go to war. They were drafted. A lot of Vietnam veterans didn't want to go to war, and they came home and they weren't treated well when they got home. And they shared those stories. There are some veterans that love their VA care and how they're getting taken care of by the Veterans Administration. And then there's other veterans like, heck no, I'm not going to anywhere near that place in that state or that area or whatever. There's good and bad with all of it. But truly realizing that as I took those interviews around the country, each one of them had a story. They had a story of their service, how they transitioned out of the service, what challenges they went through, and then I thanked them for their service. So I did a fireside interview with most all of them. And we had veterans that have addictions. We had veterans that were doing great. We had veterans that had million-dollar businesses. We had veterans from all walks of life, and women and men. And then we had family members that were sharing some of the things that they experienced as a result of either trauma or the war, and when their loved ones came home. So it was a truly enriching experience for me. I used to be an inspector general and deal with people's problems every day. And to go out and to see, I would go out and actually interview those people one by one, with undivided attention. Like, the most incredible interview we have is with a man who saw the flag raised over Iwo Jima in the war, and he's 99 years old, just turned 100 on 26th of August. Im McNally, incredible man in Texas. I got to sit on his farm. We interviewed. He told me what it was like to be, in a country at that time, and just, we had interviews from that timing all the way up to today. And so it's very powerful to see the differences over time, but also the common themes of pride and that with the veterans. And remember that veterans are just people too. Just because they put on a colored cloth to go to work, there are veterans that are doctors and veterinarians, and they're helpers. There's veterans that are in the medical field that have never even, they learned how to fight with a gun, but they never used it. So I think it's also to teach people that not every veteran is the same. Not every veteran is a gun-toting person that wants to hurt people. And I think that's the message, all in and all, is that come watch it and see what these people say. It's not my words. I sometimes drew the right words from them that they wanted to share, but it was their words, not mine. And that's what makes it so powerful.
This is brilliant. These are stories that need to be told, that need to be heard. It reminds me of a recent book I just finished reading. One of my favorite authors, Kristen Hanna, who is an internationally best-selling author, in her book Homefront, which is all about what veterans have had to go through. And I find that story so compelling. We got to get this documentary over to Kristen Hanna's team, because it needs to be heard. Speaking of publishing your new book, which is such an exciting time for you, The Resilient Warriors Code. this is your latest creation. Tell us about the energy of this book.
Well, the actual title is Warriors Code. That's one of the other copy covers that I really like because of the color. But the Warriors Code 001 is a code to live by. What I was inspired by is when I came home, I had an aggravated injury. So I had to go through a major surgery. I was 32 pounds lighter than I was normal, had not eaten well, overseas. I came home and I had to transition, and, like the family was not, like you have an expectation when you come home that things are going to be just the way that you think they will, and they're not. And so you go into this transition of, okay, now what's going to happen? Like I can't do what I need to do because I'm going through trying to heal my body. And, my mindset is a little bit out of whack because I just went through a lot of traumatic stuff. And so what happened was I worked with another co-author, and she helped me draw out what that looked like. And we started coming up with a theme of R's, 7 of them. Which the first one was when I needed to get back on my feet, it was rest. I needed to rest. I mean, my mind, my body, my spirit, everything had been beat up, to a point where now I had to go see a doctor, and they said, you want pain-free 50s or pain-free 70s, you choose. So I said, well, I guess I'll take the pain-free 50s. So I did that. And then I said, okay, now what? Well, now I need to reconnect with my family, my dog, my pickup truck. I need to reconnect with friends, and I need to reconnect with myself because things were so out of whack. And then what else? I needed to reset my mind because, I just went through a lot of things I wasn't prepared for. And I think every veteran kind of goes through that in a different way. So these R's, which I'm not going to go through every single one of them because they're in the book. But the important thing is that at the end of it all, you realize that if you do those things, you can re-engage in a different way as you transition. And the problem that I'm seeing across the country, and I keep seeing it bubbling up over and over and over, is people are checking out because they're not prepared for what they're feeling and what they're doing in the transition. I'm not a doctor, a psychologist, and I can't be anybody's bank, but I'm always their battle buddy. And I tell them, just give me a call. Let's just talk. Let's sit down. It's in the conversation and the connection.
Yes.
And like I said earlier, the true connection, when you have true connection with the person, whether it be a veteran or anyone, that's when magic happens.
I love it. Their battle buddy. I just think that is phenomenal. The Warrior Code 001, the 7 R's, that is just fantastic. Mark, there's another quote that you share in your platform in the Launch It issue. It goes like this: I learned that it is never the event that has the power, it's the response that challenges the outcomes. There's another R. I want to know about your recent travels to India as a messenger of hope, how this is all connecting this hope for human connection.
Sure. So 5 years ago, I got on an airplane and I flew to India. I had been working with a gentleman for about 4 months, and he wanted me to speak at a church conference of over 100 churches to keep peace between religion. And I don't go out and just poke at religion or choose who chooses what they choose to have as their guiding principles for anything like that. But what I found was I took a chance, right? I got on an airplane. I flew over there. I did my speech in front of the media. And then the next day I met one of the top legal leaders of India and gave him flowers. And I was in the paper. And I was like, wow, this just changed the dynamics of who I was, because I realized that, I have impact. And so over time, I started giving to the gentleman through the church to give to the gypsy kids backpacks and pens and little things. But I don't know that those kids or children would have gotten those things that if it wasn't for me. I'm not saying that I'm the like the messenger of hope for all of them. But what I'm saying is I realized the impact it had. So we kept doing it, right? We've been doing it every year now. And eventually then the person that is in charge of all that called me and says, hey, I would like you to get in international business with me. So we end up doing that too, which I didn't expect. But I think there was a trust that was built. And now when I went to India and I went into those actual camps and I saw the people and I saw how they have to struggle and I saw what it's like on their daily to live daily in where they do and how they have to survive. It turns on something in you that you can't explain. And then you realize how grateful you are for what you have. And I think the people that have never left their own zip codes really have a hard time understanding that. You don't, until you get out into the world and travel and see other countries and meet other people and grow culturally as well as professionally and personally, you don't have that same feel that you would if you did it. And so I ask people to, hey, stretch your imagination, stretch your risk level at times to grow, because there are some incredible people in other countries. However, there's also harm and safety issues. So you have to be very, very careful as you move around. Even when I go to India, I have a security detail that goes with me. So there's so many things that we learn outside of ourselves. When we went to the medical camp, they honored us, but I'm thinking, no, this isn't for us. This is for them. This, like those people that came in and got eye care through the iBus thing that they created with International Human Peace Commission, that I'm now on the board of, on the advisory board, to help grow the ambassadors across the world. So we've actually created what's called continental ambassadors and ambassadors at large for different countries. We have Switzerland, Canada, United States, Africa. And we're building it better than what it was, because it kind of went defunct and people were using it the wrong way. So we said, oh, stop. We did a stand down. And I said, oh, we're going to build this better. So peace around the world can be achieved if people just sit down and talk and not be so egotistical and have, what about me, and focus on the money and the power of things. Sometimes it's hard to let go of that ego a little bit, but even the best leaders in the world understand that. And some of them are very good at doing it, and they are peacemakers, and they are, messengers of hope are not people that want to hurt, they're people that want to help. So I'm fortunate to be a part of that group, because when I go over there to India, that is the group that I'm underneath, to help people. We go to the medical camps, and we just went to the 300th medical camp, and that was the one we actually went to. They've done for the poor people of India, and it's just an incredible experience to do that. But it was all because I took a risk. I got on an airplane and I went halfway around the world. But that's the thing, is that sometimes when you step out of yourself a little bit, that's when the true growth happens.
I love it. Again, I come back to this hope as connection. Your work is connecting with readers. Your work is connecting with countries. Your work is connecting with audiences. Your work is connecting with leaders. And I love that. I love how you took a chance. And that's another reason why we're so excited about your energy in the Launch It issue, because the Launch It issue is about taking chances. And your outcome was trust in India, which I think is fantastic. So my last question, which ties into connection, is now, through this amazing documentary, it's now time to connect with audiences. And there's a quote that you share here: all of this work is to connect with others, to bring them aboard, to work on key areas in their lives. So share with us, Mark, how can people, your readers, your listeners, how can we get involved and support this documentary, Veterans Across the Heartland?
Well, I'm working with a gentleman that's been with Sony for 20-something years. He's putting together our website for support. we'll be asking people to jump on board to get updates on the documentary. But understand that the documentary to me is kind of like the books. It's kind of like a calling card, because what we're really trying to do through that is we're trying to reach out to the veterans and say, hey, if you choose that you want a blueprint for your future and things are just not working the way you need to, or your mindset's a little off, or your finances are a little off, or you just need help with maybe building a ramp for your wheelchair if you can't walk, whatever that is, and that's service, the mindset piece, the financial piece, and then the mentoring and leadership. Those are the pillars of what we're trying to create behind the scenes. But this is our way to reach out to the world. We're going to use E360 TV. There's some incredible people down that way that are going to be helping us get the press releases out. We're going to have the website out. And also, we're going to allow a private showing in Orlando, Florida, once it releases. And we're going to take the theater, we'll get the theater, and then we will invite some lucky people that get on board through the emails. We'll do a random search and we'll make sure they get here so they can see the documentary firsthand before it's even released. So that is exciting. I want to share that the producer of this is Adam. He is, you can reach Adam on email at atomedia, it's ATOMEDIA 47 @gmail.com. He's the one that is the producer of this thing. 14 days, 3,914 miles, and 170 books we gave out. And that team, we gelled for a lot of hours to get this put together. So it's really important that now when we get to the point, we're also looking for that producer, that good person that understands what we've done and can help us bring it to the next level to where it's viewable on a streaming platform. And that's our goal. So I'm excited for it. I know that people are going to be like, wow. Look what that person just shared, and because I never directed for them what to say. I just let them go. And that's where the true magic happened. And I'm not going to edit out what they said. So people were like, well, yeah, they said this, but you took that out. And no, I'm sharing what they felt. I'm sharing what they saw, what they experienced, and what it meant, what it means to them. And that is powerful. When you can take that part of it and share it with the world, it is very powerful. So I'm really excited for what's going to happen.
You can add another R to your beautiful list, Mark, because it's real people, real voices. And this is why we're so excited about you being in this beautiful issue of White Time Mag. Mark Green of Orlando, White Timer of the Year. Look for the Launch It issue. It's going to be coming out this fall in the next few weeks. You can reach out to Mark, get a signed copy, get involved with this beautiful work that's changing lives, changing the world, making our world better. Mark, on behalf of the world, we want to thank you for sharing your real voice with us all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jerry.